I am Marcia Eli, and I have the honor of welcoming you tonight on behalf of the Brooklyn Public Library, the Library's Arts and Culture team, BPL Presents, and the Center for Brooklyn History, this place here, where we have weekly public programs like this of all kinds. I will mention one very exciting one that's happening on January 19th, our very first salon, where we will open up the entire building, floor, all the way up to the library, and with many programs of all kinds curated by Molly Crabapple, so I hope you make a little note of that. Tonight, I am absolutely overjoyed to have three Brooklyn artists. They are from backgrounds that are very different corners of the borough, and they have very different sensibilities, but they all share a remarkable ability to capture in minute detail our urban landscape. As you came in, you saw their work in the Brooklyn Miniaturists pop-up exhibit. We're the Center for Brooklyn History, so it gives me special joy to say that we're making history tonight. This is the only time that three Brooklyn miniaturists have exhibited together. I know that, in fact, it's the first time that one of them has exhibited at all. So it's really a special moment here, and I'm so happy you're all part of it. I have to say I want to thank my CBH colleagues, Laura Michael, Zenobia Pointer, Jamaler Callender, better known, we are the Mighty Mini team for making the pop-up happen, and special thanks to Leela and Lauren and the folks at BPL's marketing department for the record-breaking fast turnaround, designing and printing the labels and the graphics. And of course, I want to thank the artists for their work, for loaning us their work. In a moment, I will invite Danny, Aaron, and Jack to join me on the stage. But first, I want to invite all of you to linger after the conversation, enjoy the exhibition, have a glass of bubbly water or wine, talk to the artists informally. On that note, I have a few kind of obvious but important requests. Tempting as it may be, please don't touch the works that are not in cases. Please don't leave glasses or napkins on the tables where there are pieces. We have ample garbage cans for that. And please know that Aaron's work can be spun. They're all on Lazy Susans. They're wonderful dioramas. You want to see them in 360, but turn them gently and carefully. Finally, I'll share that if you're interested in buying one of Jack's pieces, the CBH shop has a special arrangement. Speak to the folks behind the shop counter to learn how to order his works in time for the holidays. Danny's pieces are not for sale here, but you can explore his store on his website, DannyCortesNYC.com. And Aaron's pieces are his treasures, not for sale, although I can't stop you from trying to persuade him otherwise. So, so now it's my joy to tell you a bit about each artist and invite them to join me up here on stage. I'll start with Jack. Jack Giambanco grew up and lives in Gravesend, Brooklyn. He worked for many years as a graphic artist at the Queens Courier. He began making miniatures during the pandemic as a way to pay tribute to beloved local Brooklyn businesses that were struggling or closing down. His first piece was A&F's Italian Pork Store on Avenue X. He now has created replicas of dozens of stores and businesses, each with a story from Roland Roaster to Brennan and Carr. Danny Cortes. Danny was born and raised and still lives in Bushwick. He too started making miniatures during the COVID pandemic. He captures the gritty, graffiti-covered street sites of the 80s and 90s, and with a few simple postings on social media, his work absolutely caught on fire. Now he's showing at Art Basel in Miami. I know this because he's been hard to nail down. He's been crisscrossing this country. In September, he was featured, as many of you may have read, in a profile published by the New York Times. The very first item that he made was an icebox, and a version of that is on display here tonight. So, Danny. And Aaron Kinard has lived in Prospect Heights for 45 years. Like Jack and Danny, he backed into this. He makes extraordinarily detailed dioramas, which sometimes tap into his memories of the past and other times make political statements about today. Aaron taught himself how to do all of this on YouTube. He, too, found that the indoor time during COVID allowed him to focus and perfect his craft. In his piece, a detail that is amazing. Brooklyn, which you can see out here, the cobblestone street is made from 732 mini bricks laid by hand by tweezers. Please help me welcome Aaron to the stage. And I'd like to find out a little bit about who you were, what your life was beforehand. So let's start with you, Aaron. Let's start that way and go this way. What were you doing before you became a miniaturist artist, and how did that pivot happen?
That is a hard question. What was I doing beforehand was trying to absorb life itself. Listening, learning, looking at the world, seeing how it works, having a knowledge that we're all connected in one way or another. I find it a longing or a passion to try to identify with anything and everything that's happening. And so through that combination, and prior to COVID, I tried to tap in on things that I could not control. And the anger that comes out in you, the disbelief, the inhumanity that we do to each other, it hurts me. And how can I relieve it? And I found that tapping into my art was very therapeutic for me. And I'm just amazed that people can identify with it also.
Thank you. I just want to follow up and say, when did your art become your art? What were,
I had first enjoyed photography. And doing photography, I wanted to know the old school photography. So I wanted to know how to develop film. I see people take their iPhones and they click 1,000 pictures, and then they switch through it till they get the best one. I don't really call that photography. You have to know your instrument, you have to know your tools. So I took some night classes at ICP, International Center of Photography. And they taught me how to develop film, work in the dark room, and what aperture were and whatnot. But at the time I did that, digital was coming out. So there was a new flow of things with the digital cameras. And if you use the digital cameras, they take amazing pictures. And so then I decided to start digital. And I would go around Brooklyn and throughout taking photographs of people. My specialty, what I like, are either portraits or landscapes. And I just didn't want to take pictures. I wanted to go to another level. So what I decided to do was to learn how to I was fascinated with HDR photographs. And HDR stands for high dynamic range photography. And what it is in short, you take a overexposed picture, an underexposed, and a normal photograph. Then you take it through Photoshop, digital, and splice them together. And as a result, you get immense detail of everything. Nothing is blown out. Everything is right there in the photography, in the photograph. I went to the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, just testing my art, trying to work it, and I took a photograph of the Japanese gardens there. I put it online on a social media site just so my friends or photographers could see it. About a year later, and this was during the pandemic, I get a message on Facebook saying, "Are you the person who took this photo?" And of course I did. And they said, "Well, can I publish it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what is this? They want money or it's a scam." We exchanged email addresses. Lo and behold, 6 months later, my photograph that was HDR was published. Who was the publisher? National Geographic's.
Right.
So I find that if you pursue something you love and just do it because you love it and you're putting your heart into it, you're not doing it for other people, you're doing it for your enjoyment, and you're not half-assed doing it. You're trying to understand the art of it. Things come to you. Mm-hmm. And that's precisely what has happened with my miniatures. Mm-hmm. I do it for the love of it and for the passion that's in me. And you all are here today. Thank you.
That's beautiful. So Danny, tell us about your journey, how you came to be sitting on this stage with all of us.
Brooklyn, make some noise. Yeah. Wow. Before doing miniature art, you guys read the New York Times article? Oof. Yeah, it was a very dark time. Middle of a divorce, fighting a case in court for doing a couple of things I'm not supposed to be doing. But, you know, we're human. And lost everything. And then, you know, back at mom's house in a little corner. I played with the miniatures before the pandemic, but I wasn't so serious. So, you know, now I got all this self-diagnosed depression, anxiety, and everything because it's just called life. And, you know, I was going through a rough time. And now that I'm in my mom's house with everybody, so all of the friends, when the champagne was overflowing and the money was coming in, you know, when you turn the light, the roaches scatter. That's exactly what happened when I'm fighting this case, you know. So fast forward, I'm with the depression. I lost everything. I'm in the middle of a divorce. Now we're in a pandemic. Now it's even darker now. Now I don't even want to get out of bed. So when I finally decided to get out of the bed, I became a chef for a week. I binge watched every Netflix, I think, show there was that's going on. And then I stumbled, cleaning the room, I stumbled across these tools that I didn't put to use in a while. So, and when I first started making that miniature, that feeling is like, it's why I'm here today. It's not the money, it was never the fame, it was that feeling that I kept chasing. So it was like a drug. It was like this feeling. I want that feeling. I don't think about my depression no more. The depression that I diagnosed myself with all these excuses that I had of not moving forward, the miniatures made me like surpass that. And I felt so good. I wanted to continue. I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning. I'm sleeping. My mind is still working, and I just want to finish the piece. And I just want to just get better and get better. And I worked in a homeless shelter. You know, so because I had to kill the ego and go get a minimum wage job because I needed to pay bills. So it was no excuse to finish doing your miniatures. It felt good. My office, it was an out of order bathroom. I sat down in this place, waited for the walkie-talkie to ring so I could go clean this bathroom, this hallway, or whatever. And I kept practicing with these miniatures, so it made me feel better. I'm practicing, I'm getting better and better. And one post changed my life. The power of social media gave a broader reach instead of showing my friends and family, which I was okay with that. But now I got to show the world, and we're here today, and I'm blessed.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I want to say, you know, both of you, when I'm listening to you, it feels like you discovered that you were artists in your soul. And it may have taken a while to figure that, you know, to know that, but that what you really in your soul are artists.
I took the COVID, even though there was so much going on and a lot of lives were, you know, it happened what happened, but I took it personal, and it was like a message from God saying, I'm gonna reset the world for you so that you have no excuse to wake up in the morning. There's no excuse to practice on your craft. There is no excuse. So this is what's going on for you. So I took it personal, and I said, I can't bail out now. So I gotta do what I gotta do because he resetted the world for me. So it's more personal. So sorry, guys.
Jack, let's hear your story.
Well, for me, I guess it's kind of similar, a little different. Pandemic was going on. It was such a depressing time for me. I'd wake up each day and think, you know, what can I do today that's a little different? I was working as a graphic designer. Like a lot of people, we got laid off or got work reduced. So my workload was very reduced. I was working home. It was very depressing and lonely. I'd walk outside and I'd see these stores that we love, either having a hard time, struggling, or they were closing up. And it seemed like the whole world was ending. For me, it was a very lonely time. And then I had an idea. I was walking past one of the stores. I said, you know, what if I use some of my 3D modeling skills to create these little miniatures and show the world on YouTube, on Instagram, and show the world what I think is a way how we can remember our past and keep these stores going for the ones that still remain. So I worked every day. I studied so hard. I raised the level of my craft each day to be able to produce these. And when I created my first one, I would just sit there. I'd be laying on my bed looking at it, and my heart would just sink and say, wow, I really feel like I'm at this place. It feels real. Let me post it online and see. So as soon as I posted it, it was just wild. People were saying, oh, I remember that place. I met my significant other there. My parents took me there. Thank you so much for making this model. And it was just something that touched my heart. So I woke up every day too. I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning to start my next miniature or start the next model, only so I can see the people's reaction to it and see that the model has brought them joy. And that's, here we are today.
I think this may be the only positive COVID story that I've ever heard. I wanted to ask a little bit. So, you know, I've been watching people looking at your works for the last couple of days. This pop-up exhibit is up. It's for a week, and there's a sequence of reactions. The first is memories. Memories. You guys are tapping. People are like, "Oh, I remember. Oh my God, that looks just like." Or, you know, I went to, you know, and memories. But then the second is always, oh my God, wow. How? Look at those details. How did they do that? And I would love to talk a little bit about your processes. I feel like you all have, like, you know how insect eyes have a lot of like angles and stuff? Like, you see things that people don't see, you know. Tell me a little bit about what details capture you? And, as, you've picked very different subjects in a way, and been able to capture them in enormous detail. And I'm wondering, what attracts you? Why your works are what they are? So, Danny, let's start with you this time.
Okay, I'm attracted to rust. If you have seen my works, so rust for me, tells a story. Some weather changes had to happen. So I think as a person, you go through changes. So from the weather, the rain, that drip on that metal gate, the way it drips and the glow of the orange, the way it expands and it gets darker and cruddier and gritty, that tells a story. So they say that the eagle after 30 years or something would go to a mountain and pluck his feathers off, break the beak just to reborn himself. So I think weather and it's just beauty. So we just got to stop sometimes and look, like, even if you're in this situation, the situation is the surrounding. If you in that situation, look for the positive, look for the beauty in it. So the details come from this life experience, and my daily walks in New York City.
Jack, so what are the details that you see that I probably don't when you walk down the street or look at a building?
Well, I guess it's kind of hard for me to know that, but what I do is I kind of step back, I take a whole big picture of it, and I see what strikes me the most. If it's a certain awning or a certain sign in the window that I like to bring out, and then I'll start sketching it down on paper, and then I'll sit on the computer and I'll start 3D modeling it. I'll do the gates, the windows, the doors, and as I'm putting it together, it's, I got all these different pieces, and as it's coming together, it's starting to come alive. So I guess for me, I'll try to capture the spirit of the building. And it could be anything. It could be any part of that sticks out the most that I think people would relate to. And I kind of go by, take it naturally. I don't force it. Whatever I feel, I do. It's all based on feelings. And I drop it down. And once I make that model and I show it, and it's usually, so far, every single one of them has been able to capture that spirit. So
That's great. Aaron?
I can identify with both of them. It's a mood. The mood strikes me first. When I'm walking down a street, I'm noticing everything. The trash can in the corner, the can out in the gutter. I'm watching how people walk through the streets. The colors are amazing, and how the colors blend in. Old rust, rusty, all these clicking, and then it's followed by a mood or a feeling that I have, and that moves me to make a piece. I don't sit down and say, I'm going to make a piece that looks like this or that. I try to let the art flow through me, and I won't stop until my piece breathes. If it does not breathe, it's not ready. And just to give you an example of that is during the COVID, during Black Lives Matter, I wanted to go out and take photographs. I am a native of Washington, D.C., and I remember the death of Martin Luther King. I remember the riots in the neighborhoods, the burning of the buildings. I remember the mass movements of people of all colors and religion standing up for civil rights as a small kid. And so when I saw the Black Lives Matter movement, and nothing else reminded me of this, and they were out by the tens of thousands. It was during COVID. We did not have a vaccine. I am in my 60s, and I could not go out and risk taking photos or the history of it. or demonstrating, showing my support. So what I did was moved by an art piece. And you'll see the art piece there, I Can't Breathe. And if you look at it from the front, you see a beautiful facade of a building, the front of the building, a nice calm garden, but look into the windows. And I pulled out two famous photos of lynchings. In the wider building, you see, it looks like a group of people out on a Saturday night. And they're smiling and laughing, and what's hanging in the background? A burnt body. If you look in another window, a man of color is hanging from a tree. And it's kind of disturbing, but you think everything is peaceful, but it really isn't. Then spin it around, and it's shaped just like a tombstone that says, I Can't Breathe 2020. And that's my contribution to the cause of justice, because I could not physically go out and do it myself. So things like that, the movement, the mood that I have, it develops and works into it until it can breathe.
I want to get into a little bit like how you do this, you know, like without getting into super, super detail. I think that you all three do it slightly differently. So, you know, what do you do, Jack? How do you make these?
So, like I said before, I start with a sketch, and I go to a computer, and I do computer-aided design. So I'll 3D model each part of the building, and then I have a series of 3D printers that I'll put different parts on. I'll put the awning on one, the roof on one, the base on one. I'll run them, and then I'll start what these guys do. I'll start assembling. The pieces and putting it together as from my original sketch. And from that point on, it's just a matter of bonding the pieces together. And I use no paints. It's all colored bioplastic. It's all based on corn. And photographs, decals are my windows. So.
Cool. Danny?
Yeah, I start with tons of music. Starts off with music. My daily walks, tons of pictures, tons of reference photos. Depending if I want to trick your mind into believing that this water bottle is the actual one, I'm doing research or not. So starts with music. I get in the zone, go in the studio, and just have fun. At the end of the day, it's fun.
So what are the materials that are there in the studio?
Tons of chipboard, XPS foam. I use a lot of super glues, everything that's laying around me, basically, shoe boxes, anything that I can convert to, that I could make something out of it. Trash makes some amazing art, and then now I'm experimenting with some kits now that I get a little for a couple of pieces. So I could get some kits that I've been working with. What you work with kits, right?
Yes.
Yes, and I've been experimenting with that. Now you could get really detailed with that, but you'd be surprised what you could do with a paper clip and a gum.
Yeah, I want to say when we got Danny's two pieces, and I'm holding CBGBs, and I'm like, this is so light. I'm afraid of crunching it by mistake. It's made out of
XPS foam. The canopy is a shower curtain. So that's how my mind works. I'm outside. I feel like I'm the Terminator. So I see the world like a grid. Like, okay, I could use that. Okay, yes, I gotta, so.
Aaron, what's your process?
Same thing here. I try to use, and I'm leaning more towards sustainable materials to use in building my models. If you look at the home one, you'll see the roof and different parts of the roof, and you see a pipe tubing like an air conditioner on a roof. And all it is a bent straw, and I just bent it and painted it and put it together. I go to the park and I'll pick up branches and dirt to make the soils on the grounds, and I try to use a lot of that. Also, I use washable resin, which when I'm making my models and I'm they're resin based, it's a less toxic material to work with when I'm making my projects. But like you guys, anything around you can use cardboard, chipboard, whatever works.
And lots of paints.
Lots of
Lots of
paints,
paints.
acrylics mainly.
Yeah.
Acrylics. Me too. Acrylics.
All right. So I want to know what your workspaces look like. What does it look like?
My workspace looks like a dumpster. And, I try. No, I try to make it as comfortable as possible that I could swing the chair. I could grab here. I could grab over here with this was just a table. No, I just have tons of material. I never want to throw nothing out, so that's why I'm getting cluttered. So, yeah.
Yeah. That stuff comes in handy, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the trash bags is actually trash, just miniature. I just take the trash bag, cut it up, and put actual trash. The scraps that I use for that piece becomes the trash of the art piece.
Jack, what does your workspace look like?
Computers, iPads, a bunch of 3D printers, and my bed because it's in my apartment. I wake up to this. It's amazing. I love it. And a lot of art supplies all over the place, but I try to keep it as much as organized as possible.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
About an 8 by 10 Brooklyn room, and it has everything in it cluttered. You've seen it.
I have seen it.
And that's how you work.
Yeah.
Very well organized, though.
Yes.
Everything in its space, in its place. What does it feel like when you see people reacting to your works? And you know, like is it like what do people?
Oh, it's the best. That's the whole thing for me. I've seen people cry, laugh, smile, point at it, call their friends over, come and look at this. You got to see this. I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. Just joyous, kids, adults, it doesn't matter. When they see it, everything changes. It like takes you into a whole different world. When you look at one of my miniatures or one of their miniatures, it's like your whole world. Everything disappears, all the bad disappears, and now you're in this fantasy world that anything can happen, and it's beautiful and great. And that's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm. Danny, what is it? What you know, when you see people seeing your work, is it mind-blowing? What do you...
Yeah, it feels amazing because just 3 years ago, I'd rather be recognized for doing something good than be recognized than like, look at that Doug, look at that hooligan. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it feels amazing. It's just like Jack was saying, when people come to you and cry and just want to give you a hug, take a picture with you, I'm so grateful for that because, you know, where I come from, you know, you just a zero to the left, you know. So, you know, just having people that don't know me and having the fan mail and the people it's just amazing. It makes you want to work more. It just makes you appreciate it, like you're part of something. And, you know, if I could give you 2 seconds of nostalgia, I did my job. And that's what it all comes down to, is just evoke emotion, giving someone a feeling, a memory. Just by looking at a piece, their mind is already wondering a smell, a certain type of weather, a certain type of period in their life. And when your art does that, you know, you're special. So, yeah.
Aaron?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Off the backboards of these guys. When people look at the art or they express interest in it, it's a humbling experience. To know that you've created something that they can identify with or that they were moved by. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing, totally.
So I want to say, I have a couple more questions, and then we're going to open it up to your questions. We'll have a microphone that we'll bring around, so think if you have questions for these guys. My question now is, what's percolating in there? What's next? What do you want? You know, what do you want to do? What's the next one? What do you hope for?
Well, for me, it's like maybe a little different from these guys, but I start doing these stores, and then all these store owners find out, and I think they get jealous because they want one too. So I have a waiting list I'm going through, and I'm just going one by one doing theirs. But in the middle of that work, I like to do my own stuff. So there's a couple childhood places that I have in mind. I can't mention them now that are going to come. They're coming soon, but
Great.
yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned too that, Jack, that you also have sort of thrown your hat into this ring full time.
Yes. This is it now. This is my full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah, you too.
Making
have-
models every day, which is just a pleasure, right? I don't believe it. Do you believe it?
We're lucky. We're lucky.
I don't believe it at all. So, and I reproduce. I'm all about reproduction. I want to get this feeling out to as many people as possible. So with the 3D printers, I can do that, and just to try to make people feel good.
Okay, Danny, what's percolating?
Oh man.
What's your dream that you want to do next?
Oh, my dream.
If there is one.
Well, if you guys know, I've been scaling up a lot. So I've been doing set designs for music videos, podcasts, and we're in the works right now in the movie in Hollywood. So that's very exciting. Still negotiating, but it's gonna happen because everything starts. Hollywood starts with miniatures. Star Wars. The White House got blown up in, what was it, that movie, Independence Day? It was a miniature. You know how cool it is to get one of your miniatures blown up by Hollywood? I can't wait. But, blow them up. But I'm scaling up, so get ready, pay attention to my social media because I'm about to have a big surprise. All right, a big surprise. And very, very soon. So, but yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Oh, and December 15, we're gonna be dropping a sneaker with Nike. December 15.
Wait, I didn't hear what you said.
Woodstack. We're gonna drop a sneaker with Woodstack in collaboration with Nike on December 15th. So it's gonna be cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Aaron, what about you? Like, I just want to say one thing about you too, because that you've lived in Brooklyn 45 years, but you're moving.
Yes.
And does that mean you're going to change your subject matters, or are you going to always be doing these urban scenes?
I just retired on Halloween. And my partner and I, we bought a house in Pennsylvania in a small town of Spring Grove. And I know I'm long-winded, so I'll keep this short. What in the midst now, I have a larger workspace. And what I am designing mentally now, you see, I like it dark. So we as New Yorkers, I found out during the 2016 election that I live in a bubble, that the whole world does not think like I do.
Yes.
So therefore, my next subject is living in a bubble and what's out of the bubble. That's it.
Amazing.
To be continued.
And I know everyone sees probably, the fame and success and all that, the story. But before the success, I just want to thank my fiance, Nada. She's can stand up, and she motivated me. You need that person to motivate you because without that, man, I'm telling you, if you have that motivation, you go far. Someone that's gonna be there and believe in you, that's the best support you need. Yeah.
Did you know you loved Brooklyn so much?
I sure did. Since I was born.
Me too. I
Did
love
you
it.
know-
Yes. Never want to leave. If I leave it, I get depressed. If I go to Pennsylvania, it's dark, it's sad. I want to get back here.
I'm in my bubble in Brooklyn.
Because as I said at the beginning, your pieces are they emanate love for Brooklyn. It's reciprocated. People love them. It's a wonderful kind of cycle that you've created with these pieces. Let's end by having you each maybe talk about one piece. It can be a piece that's meaningful to you. It can be a piece that didn't work for you. It can be a piece that is here or not here, but just a little bit about a feeling you have about one piece.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about the CBGB that's here, and you already know CBGB is iconic. And I just want you, when you look at this piece, try to envision yourself in the 70s, in the 80s, 90s, or wherever you was at the moment when you remember yourself as a fan of CBGBs, or you know how many superstars came out of CBGBs in New York City? So just look at the details, look at the posters. There's little Easter eggs in there. And the icebox as well is something that just is a signature of mine, and it's just my daily surroundings. Everywhere, every corner in Brooklyn, it was that icebox right there to say hello to me every morning. Yeah. And so that's what's very dear to me. So enjoy.
I guess for me it would be Roll and Roaster, which is one of my favorite places to eat, and yeah, you got to check it out. It's like when you're a kid and you live in that neighborhood, you're at Roll and Roaster every weekend, And when I created that piece, it was just amazing how many people felt the same way and contacted me over that one piece. So Roll and Roaster would be my number one, I would say.
Cool. I think the piece called Brooklyn is one of my favorite. Please turn it around and look at the back. There are 4 brownstones, and there's 4 individual neighborhoods. It took me forever to create. Please look at it.